Making the headlines tonight. Prime Minister Hun Sen departs to Seoul, South Korea to co-chair the 2022 World Peace Summit and to receive the Sunhak Peace Prize. Cambodian Foreign Minister Prak Sakhon says ASEAN faces unprecedented pressure in 2022. The leaders of Germany, France, and Poland hold talks to de-escalate tensions over the Russian military buildup on the border of Ukraine. 15-year-old star figure skater Kamila Valieva tests positive for a banned drug, the first big doping case at the Beijing Olympics. And France's world-famous Nice Carnival returns. This is the Daily Roundup on EAC News Channel. A very good evening to you. I'm Darshana Gauchan. Prime Minister Hun Sen departed to Seoul, South Korea on Thursday morning to co-chair the 2022 World Peace Summit from 11th to 13th February. EAC News reporter Dekanin has more details.
The Prime Minister's plane left the airport at around 8 a.m. on Thursday morning. Minister delegate attached to the Prime Minister, Srey Thamrong, told reporters before Prime Minister Hun Sen's departure that as co-chair for the 2022 World Peace Summit, the Prime Minister will deliver remarks at both the opening and closing ceremonies.
We
already know that the Prime Minister got this medal because he sacrificed his life to bring peace, especially to liberate our people from khmer rule regimes and bring peace development to this day, which we have never had in the history. For instance, in the history of Cambodia, we have never had time to develop like nowadays.
The minister delegate added that co-chairing the 2022 World Peace Summit and receiving Sunhak Peace Prize is not only an honor for Prime Minister Hun Sen, but also an honor for the nation and the people of Cambodia as a whole. He said it affirms his leadership and showcases the progress Cambodia has made, which is internationally recognized today. The summit officially handed over the 5th Sunhak Peace Prize to the Prime Minister on February 12th. The Prime Minister Hun Sen will return to Cambodia on February 13th. Dekanin, EAC News.
Prime Minister landed in Seoul, South Korea at 2:35 local time, which was 12:35 p.m. here in Cambodia. He was provided a warm welcome at Incheon International Airport by senior South Korean officials and the Cambodian ambassador to the Republic of Korea. Before departing to South Korea for the 2022 World Peace Summit in Seoul, Prime Minister Hun Sen released a message warning citizens to continue taking measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19, particularly in light of rising Omicron cases. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has more.
Prime Minister Hun Sen made a post on his Facebook page before leaving Cambodia stating he will be co-chairing the 2022 World Peace Summit from 10th to the 13th of February. The 2022 World Peace Summit will be attended by keynote speakers and participants from 157 countries to seek hope for peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula. He added during his stay in Seoul, he will meet with South Korean President Moon Jae-in to discuss bilateral relations and cooperation related to politics, economic and socio-cultural sectors. He will also meet the former Secretary General of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, and other political business figures. The Prime Minister further wrote urging citizens to continue working together to prevent the spread of COVID-19, especially the Omicron variant, which has been on the rise over the last few days. He said that the necessary for everyone to take care of themselves and taking measures such as reducing the number of large gatherings and digitally implementing the 3 do's and don'ts for the safety of the whole community. Prime Minister Hun Sen previously urged for the strengthening of health measures in place such as clubs and bars and at events such as weddings and other ceremonies, where large gatherings normally take place. He urged the gatherings to be kept small and said that this is not a step backwards on the reopening of the country, but rather a layer of protection to avoid another health disaster from occurring. Prime Minister Hun Sen is urging citizens to continue working together to prevent the spread of COVID-19, the new Omicron, and not to forget to implement the 3 do's and the 3 don'ts for the safety of the whole community, especially where there are large gatherings such as markets, weddings, bars and nightclubs. This is Anthony Ellis, EAC News, Phnom Penh.
Cambodian Foreign Minister Prak Sokhonn has said that ASEAN faces unprecedented pressure in 2022, referring to the ongoing COVID-19 crisis, intense competition between world powers, and deepening regional crises. EAC News reporter Robin Lim has more.
Speaking at a working meeting with the Senate Committee on Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation, Propaganda and Information on Wednesday, Deputy Prime Minister Prak Sokhonn said that since Cambodia became a member of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations almost 23 years ago, ASEAN faces an unprecedented amount of mixed pressure at a time when Cambodia has assumed the chairmanship. He added that this has affected efforts to build the ASEAN community as well as efforts to integrate and expand external partnerships. He said that Cambodia, as the 2022 ASEAN chair, has chosen the theme of ASEAN ACT, addressing challenges together. And the main idea is to demonstrate the importance of the spirit of ASEAN on behalf of the 10-nation family, united in a strong spirit and working together to achieve common goals. He continued that Cambodia wishes to emphasize the ASEAN middle ground, unity and solidarity in addressing regional challenges and increasing ASEAN's contribution to peace, stability and security and sustainable development in the region and the world. Minister Prak Sokhonn noted the dangerous situation of world politics in Cambodia at the moment, but said that Cambodia has maintained its stability in foreign policy and achieving 5 important tasks: territorial defense, policy implementation, the use of flexible foreign policy in response to geopolitical pressure, more active participation in the cause of world peace and stability, and implementation of diplomatic, economic, and cultural practices and internal reforms to support and enhance the effectiveness of diplomatic work. Robin Lim, EAC News.
The foreign ministers from Cambodia and Brunei Darussalam have agreed to sign a memorandum of understanding between the 2 countries' respective governments. This agreement was made during a meeting between the foreign ministers on Wednesday. EAC News reporter Dekanin has more details.
Cambodian Foreign Minister Prak Sokhonn and Brunei Darussalam's second Foreign Minister Dato Irivan Pehan Yusof have agreed to sign a memorandum of understanding between the Cambodian and Bruneian governments on bilateral consultations. During the meeting between the foreign ministers, the 2 sides held the 30 years of diplomatic ties between the 2 countries, and the Bruneian side expressed that the Sultan Hassanal Bolkiah also wishes to pay a visit to Cambodia before the ASEAN summit being held in November. The Bruneian Minister of Foreign Affairs also invited the Minister Prak Sokhonn to come and visit Brunei at an appropriate time. In addition to discussing bilateral relations and agreeing to sign a memorandum of understanding between the 2 countries, the foreign ministers also discussed issues related to the ASEAN region, especially Myanmar. In a statement issued on Wednesday night, the Cambodian Ministry of Foreign Affairs stated that both the ministers had similar views on the complexity of the situation in Myanmar, which needs to be addressed through a step-by-step approach. The 2 ministers concurred that ASEAN should continue to persevere in engendering an inclusive process of dialogue, which should be Myanmar-led and Myanmar-owned, to end violence, prevent worsening humanitarian conditions, and achieve durable peace. They shared commitment to work together, along with other ASEAN colleagues, to expedite progress on the implementation of 5-point consensus and to further strengthen the centrality and unity of ASEAN. Brunei and Cambodia first established diplomatic relations in 1992, with each country's respective embassies also cooperating in trade, education, and defense. Nekanin, EAC News.
The Cambodian Ministry of Culture and Fine Arts is applying for the inscription of 14 cultural properties on the UNESCO World Heritage List, including Khmer traditional rice noodles. EAC News reporter Robin Lim has the story.
At the opening ceremony of the meeting to summarize the work results of 2021 and the work direction of 2022 of the Ministry of Culture and Fine Arts held on Wednesday at the Chaktamuk Conference Hall, the Minister of Culture and Fine Arts, Phung Sakona, stated that the 14 cultural assets had to be submitted for inscription on the World Heritage List, the List of Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity, and the UNESCO Creative Cities Network. These assets include temples like Banti Khmer and Angkor Bore, the Tuol Sleng Genocide Museum, the Royal Water Festival, the city of Bat Tambong, Kun Bokatao, martial arts, and of course, Khmer traditional rice noodles. These noodles, known as Num Ban Chok in Khmer, are popularly eaten by Cambodians for breakfast or as an afternoon snack. Num Ban Chok noodles are made by soaking rice for 2 to 4 hours and grinding them into a liquidy paste. The paste is pressed into round shapes and dried into calico bags, before getting pulverized and turned into a viscous paste. This paste is then extruded into boiling water, and the noodles are boiled for 3 to 4 minutes before being transferred to cold water. There are many regional variations of Num Ban Chok across Cambodia, but the most famous one has a fish broth base, a variety of vegetables such as cucumber, banana flower, and lemongrass.
This right here is Khmer noodle, Num Ban Chok. It has a fish broth with coconut milk and a lot of other various ingredients. And on the condiment side, we have a variety of vegetables and beautiful flowers that are edible. I'm gonna combine all the ingredients and I'll give it a taste test. All right, ready to eat. Let's give it our first bite. Wow, delicious. Here's the broth. Delicious. Robin Lim, EAC News, Phnom Penh.
The Phnom Penh Capital Administration announced new restrictions on events and gatherings on Thursday morning. This includes the provision that those who have not received their third dose of the COVID-19 vaccine will not be allowed to attend any festivals or weddings. EAC News reporter Sraipor Kong has more.
According to the instruction released by the Phnom Penh Capital Administration, at weddings, restaurants, festivals, and any other kinds of gatherings, there should be no more than 7 people allowed per table. Additionally, anyone who has been vaccinated with the base doses of COVID-19 vaccine for 4 months but has not yet received their third dose booster shot without a valid reason will not be allowed to attend any events or enter those venues. The Capital Administration reminds citizens to strictly abide by and implement the necessary health measures to prevent further transmission of the COVID-19 disease, especially the Omicron variant. These restrictions have been announced in Phnom Penh in light of the recent sharp increase in Omicron cases with the city, a triple-digit increase which has raised concerns. Crowded places such as weddings, restaurants, festivals, entertainment venues, and other gatherings must abide by the safety gate of having no more than 7 people per table. And all other safety measures such as spraying alcohol, washing hands, measuring temperature, and mask wearing must be carefully followed. At restaurants, masks should be removed only when eating, and then worn again when getting up from the table. The Capital Administration urged everyone to get vaccinated against COVID-19, both the base doses and the booster shots, in order to encourage community immunity and stretch, and to avoid a public health disaster from occurring. Sraipor Kong, EAC News.
The Ministry of Tourism has instructed capital and provincial departments of tourism to request the cooperation of local authorities to stop business operations in the event that those businesses fail to implement or improperly implement health measures. The ministry has also appealed to owners of KTVs, entertainment clubs, bars, discos, and beer gardens to prevent the spread of COVID-19 following a sharp rise in local Omicron cases. EAC News reporter Robin Lim has more.
In a circular letter released by the Ministry of Tourism on strengthening the implementation of the measures on the royal government, the Ministry of Health, and tourism safety measures to combat the spread of COVID-19, particularly the Omicron variant, the Ministry of Tourism reminded the Capital and Provincial Department of Tourism and all tourism business owners and managers to strengthen the implementation of the Minimum Standards and Safety Rules, SOP. These measures include strengthening and implementation of health rules, especially the 3 do's and don'ts, and to register the identities and contact details of all tourists who must register, create and use the QR code Stop COVID system. Tourists are required to scan the QR code before entering any location, and all tourism business establishments need to strengthen management and determine their carrying capacity in order to maintain adequate social distancing of 1.5 meters, especially in establishments such as restaurants and canteens. Additionally, all businesses must ensure that all staff are vaccinated against COVID-19 with both the base and booster doses, and must monitor the health of all employees and inform local authorities if any suspected cases are detected among their employees or guests. The letter states that the Ministry of Tourism calls on the Capital and Provincial Department of Tourism to cooperate with the Capital and Provincial Administration, local authorities, other relevant departments, and private sector actors to implement the stated procedures effectively and responsibly in order to avoid public health disasters, negative impact on family and social economic standing, as well as to avoid a return to the hardship of daily life and to ensure a long-term sustainability of new normal life. The ministry has also particularly called on all high-risk businesses such as KTVs, entertainment clubs, bars, and beer gardens to implement health regulations properly, ensuring that all staff are fully vaccinated, implement strict mask-wearing measures, wash hands regularly, check temperatures and vaccination cards, and require their guests to register in the QR code system, spray alcohol for guests before entering businesses' premises, and keep the capacity of guests allowed inside at a safe limit as instructed by the Ministry of Health. Robin Lim, EAC News.
Cambodia has reported 262 new COVID-19 cases, 36 of which are imported. There have been 76 patient recoveries and once more, no new deaths. The kingdom recorded 226 new community and 26 new imported cases of the new variant. Cambodia has now recorded 2,027 cases of Omicron, 605 imported, and 1,422 community cases. The kingdom's COVID-19 case tally has now climbed to 122,468. The death toll stands at 3,015. The number of patients treated successfully since the pandemic reached Cambodia is 118,420, and the tally for imported cases has climbed to 20,462. Healthcare workers are currently treating a total of 1,109 patients. And now for a look at news making international headlines this Thursday, 10th February.
The Colombian Navy has seized 4 tons of cocaine being transported on board a semi-submersive vessel in South Pacific, officials said Monday, February 7th. According to authorities, 4 people were on board the submarine intercepted by the Pacific Ocean. It was headed to the coast of Central America. The Navy has said that the operation has prevented the trafficking and the consumption of more than 10 million doses of cocaine in neighbouring countries, valued at $150 million and distributed by the FARC's dissident group Bloc Occidental Alfonso Cano. When the 49-foot vessel was inspected, 200 sacks were found containing several rectangular packages, which were then transferred transferred to the dock of the Tamako Coast Guard Station, where members of the Technical Investigation Corps of the Prosecutor's Office have tested the substance in the packages to confirm it was cocaine. Despite decades fighting the drug trafficking, Colombia remains one of the world's top producers of cocaine.
A crocodile in Indonesia that had a motorcycle tire stuck around its neck for 6 years was finally freed by a self-taught reptile rescuer on Monday night. Central Sulawesi province resident Tilly, 35, has said he caught the crocodile after setting up a trap and was asking for help from people, but they were scared. After capturing the reptile, Tilly has used a small saw to cut the tire. The crocodile had been elusive, only rarely resurfacing in the water, Tilly has said. He set up a basic trap with a rope tied to a log with live chickens and ducks as bait. After tracking the reptile for 3 weeks, it has appeared as though the crocodile would best Tilly as it escaped his trap twice. The crocodile had evoked sympathy from local residents who worried the tire would eventually choke it as the reptile grew its size. In January 2020, provincial conservation authorities had offered an unspecified reward for anyone who could remove the tire. It's unclear whether Tilly will try to claim it. He said his main motivation was to help animals, even adding this is not his first time dealing with a crocodile.
At least 14 people were killed and 35 injured after a landslide had covered several homes in central Colombia on Tuesday, the country's disaster management agency has reported. The incident in Dos Quebradas, close to the city of Pereira, followed heavy rains in the surrounding coffee-growing province. The injured are being looked after in nearby hospitals according to National Unit for Disaster Risk Management. Local authorities have evacuated dozens of homes as the Oton River has overflowed. Landslides are common in Colombia due to mountainous terrain, frequent heavy rains, and poor or informal construction of housing.
The leaders of Germany, France, and Poland have discussed ways to de-escalate tensions over the Russian military buildup on the border of Ukraine. In their talks late on Tuesday, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has said,
The common goal is to prevent a war in Europe. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has said alongside President Emmanuel Macron and Polish President Andrzej Duda ahead of talks in the Weimar Triangle format in the German Chancellery. The amassing of Russian troops on the Ukraine border is of great concern, and Europe's appraisal of the situation is united. And their position on this, any further attack on the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine is unacceptable and will draw wide-reaching consequences onto Russia, politically, economically, and geostrategically, Chancellor Scholz has further said. Western countries, led by the United States, fear Russia is preparing to invade Ukraine. Moscow says it is planning no invasion but could take unspecified military technical measures unless a number of security demands are met, including a promise from NATO never to admit Kyiv. The United States and European Union have threatened Russia with sanctions if it attacks Ukraine. Moscow, still Europe's biggest energy supplier, despite already being under sanctions since seizing Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula in 2014, has largely dismissed new sanctions as an empty threat. Polish President Andrzej has said this was the most difficult situation Europe was facing since 1989, a milestone in a year of momentous change in Europe, leading in a few short months to the fall of the Berlin Wall in November 1989 and the fall of the Iron Curtain dividing Eastern and Western Europe. Poland President Andrzej Duda has said they have to find a solution, and they need to find such a solution that makes sure war is avoided. It is their most important objective at the moment. The president believes they can achieve this, and he thinks that the most important thing at the moment is that they have to work in unity and solidarity. They have to show that they speak with one voice, that they are in this together, and that they cannot be broken. And he also thinks that they must also show that they will not back down. On Monday, February 6th, US President Joe Biden has said after meeting Scholz that the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline, designed to double the amount of gas flowing from Russia straight to Germany, would be halted if Russia invades Ukraine. Scholz has said the pair had the same approach to Ukraine, to Russia, and to sanctions, but did not directly confirm the Nord Stream 2 plans.
The World Health Organization's regional director for Europe has announced on Thursday that Europe's COVID-19 situation was entering a plausible endgame. Europe slowly starts to consider treating COVID like the flu. But of course, new metrics are needed as COVID becomes an endemic. Hospitalization rates remain manageable despite surging cases.
I wish to reiterate the firm call I made.
WHO's Regional Director of Europe, Mr. Hans Klunge, made comments during a WHO conference on the status of COVID-19 throughout the region. He has added that while the pandemic is not over, the European region had an opportunity to take control of the transmission thanks to the combination of vaccine drives, a favourable, sensible pause and lower severity of the Omicron variant. Some 12 million new cases were reported in Europe in the past week, making the highest week cases incidence since the start of the pandemic, largely driven by the spread of Omicron. However, the case incident rate and overall admissions to intensive care have not increased significantly, and the number of deaths across the region is starting to plateau.
Six Russian warships have passed to the Black Sea from the Mediterranean for naval drills. Russia's defense ministry has confirmed this on Tuesday, February 8th, in what it said was a pre-planned movement of military resources.
Russia has announced last month its Navy would stage a sweeping set of exercises involving all its fleets in January and February, from the Pacific to the Atlantic, in the latest show of its strength in a surge of military activity during a standoff with the West over Ukraine. The 6 ships have passed through Turkey's straits to the Black Sea on Tuesday, and Wednesday, Turkish sources has confirmed. The vessels include the Korolev, the Minsk, and the Kaliningrad have navigated the Bosphorus on Tuesday, while the Pyotr, Morgunov, the Georgy Pobedonosets, and the Oligorsky Gornyak have passed on Wednesday. Russia has amassed more than 100,000 troops near the Ukraine border. However, it denies any plans to invade, but it's seeking sweeping security guarantees, including a promise of no missile deployments near its borders, a scaling back of NATO military infrastructure, and a ban on Ukraine ever joining the alliance. Legally, NATO member Turkey could shut the straits to transit if Russia were to take military action against Ukraine. A political analyst based in Istanbul, Yurok Isik, has said, Turkey is authorized to close the straits to all foreign warships in wartime or when it is threatened by aggression. Also, it is authorized to refuse transits to merchant ships belonging to countries at war with Turkey. Turkey, which shares a maritime border with both Ukraine and Russia in the Black Sea, has said any military conflict would be unacceptable and has told Moscow any invasion would be unwise. However, Turkey President Tayyip Erdogan has also offered to mediate in the row between Moscow and Kiev. Ankara has cordial relations with both countries, though Erdogan says it will do what is necessary as a NATO member in the event of a Russian invasion. French President Emmanuel Macron has said after talks in the Kremlin on Monday with Russia's Vladimir Putin that the coming days would be crucial in the standoff over Ukraine. Putin has suggested some progress had been made in the talks.
Collectivement pour la Russie.
After the break, a look at all the latest sports news.
If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. The EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favorite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear.
តើលោកអ្នកចិត្តរៀបអាពាហ៍ពិពាហ៍មែនទេហើយពិបាករកក្រុមហ៊ុនថតវីដេអូផ្សាយផ្ទាល់ដែលមានគុណភាពមែនទេអស់កង្វល់រ៉ាទីកាជាក្រុមហ៊ុនទទួលស្គាល់លំដាប់អន្តរជាតិលើសេវាកម្មថតផ្សាយផ្ទាល់គ្រប់កម្មវិធីកម្រិត 4K ដំបូងបង្អស់នៅកម្ពុជារ៉ាទីកាប្រើប្រាស់ឧបករណ៍ទំនើបម៉ាកល្បីធានាគុណភាពការផលិតតាមបច្ចេកវិទ្យាទាន់សម័យរ៉ាទីកានឹងជួយធ្វើឲ្យកម្មវិធីលោកអ្នកកាន់តែមានភាពអស្ចារ្យលោកអ្នកនឹងបានឃើញរាល់សកម្មភាពក្នុងពិធីទៅលើកញ្ចក់ទូរទស្សន៍ទំហំធំកម្រិត 4K និងការបញ្ចាំងលើផ្ទាំងក្រណាត់សព្រមទាំង LED ដែលមានរូបភាពច្បាស់ត្រជាក់ភ្នែកសូមអញ្ជើញកក់ពីឥឡូវនេះតាមរយៈលេខទូរស័ព្ទ012 823 848 017 838 889និង016 823 848រ៉ាហ្វីកាទំនុកចិត្តការទទួលខុសត្រូវនិងគុណភាពខ្ពស់
something, you about to see something. It's coming, we're unstoppable now. Ain't nothing gonna take us down, we're unstoppable now. Fade to black, take a bow, yeah. We're unstoppable now.
Russian media reported on Wednesday that 15-year-old figure skater Kamila Valieva had tested positive for a banned drug after the ceremony to present her and her teammates with their Olympic gold medals was postponed for unexplained legal reasons.
The news broke late at night in Beijing, where Vavilene was part of the Russian Olympic Committee assembled that won the figure skating team event on Monday ahead of the United States and Japan. They named the drug as trimazodine, which is typically used to treat chest pain. Trimazodine, or TMZ, works for increasing blood flow in the heart and limited rapid swings in blood pressure. The drug is not approved for use in the United States. It has been on the World Anti-Doping Agency, WADA, list of prohibited substances since 2014. The teenager delivered one of the highlights of the Beijing Games so far, where she landed the first quadruple jumps by a woman in Olympic competition. She has one of 4 ROC skaters who did not appear in their practice sessions on Wednesday. There have been attempts to reach out for the ROC chief de mission for comment, but his phone was not answering. The ROC early declined to comment on reports on Voliva had returned a positive test. Figure skating is the prestige sport for Russia, in which it is outstanding record at the Olympic World Championships. Any moves to penalise Voliva or strip the team of the medals would likely cause a national outcry. Sources have said that the sample in question had been taken 2 months ago. The drug tormazodine does not help the athlete in any way at all. It was found in a single sample in December. A minuscule amount, nothing in her samples before or since the source had written on social media. The case is further complicated by the fact that Voliva is only 15. According to WADA's World Anti-Dope Code, athletes who commit doping violations should be publicly named, but this is not required if the person concerned is a minor under the age of 15.
San Francisco-born Eileen Gu, who lifted the host country to the top of the medals table at the Beijing Olympics with a free ski big air gold on Tuesday, remained evasive on whether she was holding an American passport.
The 18-year-old fashion model and incoming Stanford University student was already considered Team China's best-known winter athlete, and her popularity has gone through the roof. So I grew up spending 25 to 30% of my time in China. I'm fluent in Mandarin and English and fluent culturally in both, she answered, when asked if she was still an American citizen. So coming here, I really feel there was a sense of coming home. I feel just as American as Chinese. I don't feel I'm taking advantage of one or another. They understand that my mission is to foster a connection between countries and not a divisive force. Chinese media have also focused on her fluent Mandarin, Eurasian features. Gu was born to a Chinese mother and American father, proud embrace of Chinese culture, and academic prowess as a reason for her popularity with China's public. China does not allow dual nationality, and state media have previously reported that the 18-year-old renounced her U.S. citizenship after she became a Chinese national at the age of 15. Gu would not confirm that. When the reporter asked again, the news conference moderator interjected, "Next question, please." Gu has not been without controversy, however, particularly over her decision in 2019 to switch teams and represent China after years of competing for the United States, where she was born and raised.
Italy's Arianna Fontana outwitted the Netherlands' Suzanne Schulting to claim a record-extending 10th Olympic medal in short track speed skating and retain her title in the 500 meters event at the Beijing Winter Games on Monday.
Fontana, 31, the most decorated short tracker in women's or men's events, now has 2 more medals than American Apollo Ono and Russian Victor An. The Angela Biondo Blonde Angel overtook second place Dutch Schulting on the final lap and screamed with joy as she crossed the line, breaking the near silence at the Capitol Indoor Stadium. In this scream was all the rage I accumulated in the last 3 years, said Fontana, who trains in Hungary after what she said was an aggression towards her on the ice at home and opposition to having her husband as coach. They tried to find a way to hurt us and for us not to be here, but we thrived through all this stuff, she told the news conference. It was a tough for sure, but it was all worth it. Arianna Fontana, the short track speed skater with most Olympic medals, threatened on Tuesday not to take part in the home games in Milano and Cortina in 2026 in a dispute with the Italian Skating Federation if not resolved. She trains in Hungary following the dispute with the Italian National Skating Federation, which opposes her husband, Anthony Laballo, as a coach. The accusations of aggression against her while training on ice. A spokesman for the Italian Olympic Committee said there will be no comment on those assassinations from the National Skating Federation. Fontana now stands tied with cross-country skier Stefano Bellandomo as Italian's decorated Olympian.
And now for a look at how the weather will be playing out tomorrow. finally, the Nice Carnival is back. Nice Carnival is one of the most important events in France and one of the most famous the world over. It takes place every year during the month of February and is one of the most popular events on the French Riviera, attracting each year hundreds of thousands of spectators. The Nice Carnival is set to take place again this year in the southern French city, under the theme King of the Animals, after the 2021 edition was cancelled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This year's 2022 Nice Carnival will begin on Saturday, February 12th, and will end on Sunday, February 27th.
The earliest records established the Nice Carnival's existence in 1294, when the Count of Provence, Charles Anjou, wrote that he has passed the joyous day of Carnival. This may make the Nice Carnival the original Carnival celebration. In 1873, a committee was created for the carnival, headed by local artist Alexis Mossat, with later contributions from his son Gustave Adolphe Mossat. The carnival was reinvented into a parade, adding masquerades, satirical floats, and competitions. Each year, a special theme is chosen, and artists create 18 floats and other figurines in traditional papier-mâché for the colorful parade. The parades take place day and night, while on the promenade des Anglais, flower battles occur. Craftsmen were putting the finishing touches to the floats, depicting an array of beasts from a roaring gorilla to a giant praying mantis bearing the symbol of the female gender on its forehead. This year's notable addition is a special float featuring some of the main candidates for the April 2022 presidential election, along with President Emmanuel Macron, who is expected to run but yet has to announce his candidacy. The Nice Carnival is one of the world's major carnival events, alongside the Brazilian Carnival, Venetian Carnival, and Mardi Gras in New Orleans. It is held annually in February and sometimes early March in Nice on the French Riviera. Until a series of health restrictions were lifted on February 2nd, the number of attendees had been limited to 5,000 seated people, but organizers now expect to welcome an additional 7,000 standing spectators. Every year, the carnival attracts more than 200,000 spectators with its parade and annual Battle of the Flowers, where blooms are thrown at the public from the floats. The event has been a fixture of the city on the French Riviera for almost 150 years.
Thank you for watching the Daily Roundup on EAC News Channel. For more breaking news and updates, you can check out our website eacnews.asia or search EAC News on Telegram or at your favorite app store. More from the EAC News team tomorrow night at 8 p.m. We will see you then.